Throughout history, people have recognized the need for a system for exercising authority or a government. For the most part, they have lived under absolute rulers such as kings or monarchs who used to wield total power. The idea that people can govern themselves, that is the idea of democracy, evolved very slowly. It grew out of the contributions of many people over the course of thousands of years. Let us discuss the main features of democracy point-wise.
Democracy means responsible government, wherein the rule is actually in the hands of the people.
You have learned in previous modules what were the drawbacks of monarchy and how revolutions in France and England in the 17th and 18th centuries to the recent ones in Libya and Myanmar brought democracy back to life.
In Libya, Revolutionary Command Council (RCC) had the absolute power to rule in its hands. All those who tried to object to its policies or wanted to reform it were either imprisoned or killed.
The RCC was not answerable to anyone for its actions, whereas in democracy, elected government functionaries are answerable to the government. In democracy, all people are equal.
The citizens take part equally in the functioning of the government. Each person has the right to vote, and the elections are held in a free and fair manner. People judge their representations on the basis of the work that they do for them and the country, and if people are not satisfied with their functioning, they may change them in the next elections. So it's simple. In order to stay in power, you have to perform.
Democracy is based on equality and inclusiveness. Today, all adults can take part in the elections and cast their votes irrespective of the religion, caste, creed, color or gender, but this took a long time to establish. USA allowed white women to vote only in the year 1920. All black citizens were permitted to vote from the year 1965, and the first nation to lift all the voting restrictions was New Zealand in the year 1893. USSR was the first large country to give universal voting rights after the Russian Revolution in the year 1917. Yet, there are certain countries which do not give equal opportunities for people to vote. In Estonia, people of Russian minority find it hard to vote. In Fiji, the same problem is faced by the Indian Fijians. That is sad, isn't it?
Democracy requires active participation of citizens. It means that the common people have a say in making all the governmental policies and also help in implementing them. But this kind of public participation is not easily achieved. You would have seen that in our country also, there are some people who do not understand how important is their vote for the country and do not go for voting. Remember, it is your duty to cast vote once you turn 18 and bring the right kind of people in the government.
Democracy requires civil liberties. Democracy means that all citizens are free to express their opinions and discuss their views. The media is also free to share the correct information about the government with the people. Government has nothing to hide from the people. Government officers should act responsible if they know that the media is watching them.
Democracy requires equality. It means that each person, whether he is rich or poor, educated or uneducated, will be given a right to vote. Democracy requires free and fair elections. It means that people in any way should not be pressurized to vote in the favor of any one person or party. You would have heard that earlier booth capturing was common in India. To counter this problem, electronic ballot machines were introduced. Now, no one can. In many countries like USSR, Myanmar and Libya, only one or two parties are allowed to compete, So, people have little choice. They have to select the either one of the two.
Democracy requires respect for law and minority opinion. Once elected, all democratic governments must abide by the constitution and the law of the country. The government officials are supposed to safeguard the interests of even those who hold opinion that is contrary to the majority of people. Even those who have a different opinion than that of the government should be given an ear. Otherwise, would we be any different from Leopold II or Gaddafi? In our country also, we have an opposition party that keeps a check on the functioning of the ruling party.
In Belgium, equal opportunities were given to Dutch and French-speaking people in the central government. Both the communities were permitted to take part in the decision-making. Special status was given to the city of Brussels, in which both communities had equal representation. A special government, known as community government, was elected by the people to look after the cultural, educational, and language-related issues. These arrangements worked well in Belgium and helped in settling civil disputes between the two communities. In Sri Lanka, majority were the Sinhala-speaking people. Minority were the Tamil-speaking people. Government followed the majoritarian principle of democracy. Sinhala was made the official language. The Sinhala applicants were favoured for jobs. Gradually, the Tamil-speaking Sri Lankans were alienated by the government. The Sri Lankan Tamils started demanding a separate state, Tamil Eelam for Tamils, which took shape of the civil war and gave rise to a militant group, LTTE, Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam. Prior to the civil war, Sri Lanka had an excellent record of economic development, but the civil war caused a setback to the social, cultural and economic life of the country.
So, what do we learn from these two cases? Democracy should be handled very wisely. The opinions of all should be taken into account and none should be neglected. Then only we can have a successful and progressive society. Dear children, the basic idea of democracy is that all people should be treated with dignity and respect. Now, no one wants to get humiliated or ignored unnecessarily, isn't it? Men and women, rich or poor, should be treated with the same amount of respect. After all, we are all human beings, isn't it? Discrimination on the basis of caste or religion can be extremely hurtful, and this is what causes most of the problems in today's world. So, democracy is in a way a tool to eradicate all differences from the society, and you also can help in making your country progressive by sticking to every ideal of democracy.